I stood in the kitchen, soap bubbles clinging to my hands, while the sound of laughter echoed from the ballroom above. Every burst of chatter, every clink of champagne glasses reminded me that I wasn't one of them in this moment. To the crowd upstairs, I was just another nameless servant making sure their night was flawless. Little did they know this mansion, the polished marble floors, the glittering chandeliers, the manicured gardens, belonged to me and my husband. And tonight, those same people who looked at me like I was beneath them were about to learn one of the most expensive lessons of their lives. If you've ever been underestimated, dismissed, or treated unfairly, then you already know how heavy that sting feels. And if you've ever wished you could flip the script and show people the truth, this story is for you. My name is Aaliyah. 2 years ago, I married the love of my life, Logan Morrison. To the world, he's a billionaire tech entrepreneur who built his empire from nothing. His face is in magazines, his name flashes across stock tickers, and he's invited to every charity event and business gala in the state. But to me, Logan is just the kindest, most down-to-earth man I've ever known. He's the type to spend an afternoon fixing a neighbor's lawnmower or kneel in the mud to rescue a stray puppy. That's why I fell in love with him. We met in the most ordinary place, a small coffee shop downtown. He was hunched over his laptop, hair a little messy, completely lost in whatever he was building. No flashy suits, no entourage, no air of superiority. Just a man with ambition, and a smile that made my heart stop. Logan never flaunted his wealth, and neither did I. Even after we married, we kept things simple. While he attended meetings with investors and spoke at charity luncheons, I preferred the quiet life. I worked at a local animal shelter, spending my days feeding strays, comforting abandoned dogs, and helping families adopt their first pets. No cameras, no reporters, no need to impress anyone. I had everything I wanted, but tonight was different. Tonight was the annual charity gala at our mansion, the event Logan had been planning for months. The proceeds would go to children's hospitals across the state, and Logan had poured his heart into making it perfect. I was proud of him. I was proud of us. But as I thought about the hundreds of wealthy guests about to fill our home, a thought crept into my mind. Most of them didn't know me. In their eyes, I wasn't Logan's wife. I wasn't co-owner of this house. I was invisible. And in that invisibility, I saw an opportunity. Call it curiosity, call it a social experiment. But I wanted to see how these people behaved when they thought no one important was watching. Did they truly embody the generosity they flaunted on invitations? Or did their kindness only extend as far as the camera flashes? So I made a decision. Tonight, I wouldn't attend the gala as Logan's wife. Tonight, I would walk among them as one of the catering staff. It was risky, yes, a little ridiculous, maybe, but it was also the only way to glimpse people's true colors. I borrowed a simple black uniform from our housekeeper, pulled my hair into a neat bun, and practiced the polite, invisible smile of someone whose job is to serve, not be seen. Logan was running late from a business meeting, so he had no idea what I was planning. Perfect. When I slipped into the kitchen through the staff entrance, no one questioned me. The catering team was too busy balancing trays of hors d'oeuvres, lining up champagne flutes, and fussing over last-minute details. I blended right in. As the guests began arriving, I grabbed a tray of sparkling champagne and walked into the ballroom. The sight took my breath away, even though I had watched it all being set up over the past week. Crystal chandeliers cast golden light across the marble floors. Tables draped in ivory linen gleamed with silver cutlery and floral arrangements that looked like they had been sculpted, not grown. The air hummed with soft classical music and the murmur of expensive perfume. For a moment, I felt proud. Proud that this was our home. Proud of what Logan had built and what we now shared. But that feeling didn't last. As I weaved through the crowd, offering champagne, I started to notice things. Guests took glasses from my tray without ever looking at me. Some spoke over me, their conversations too important to pause for a thank you. To them, I wasn't a person. I was a shadow with a tray. "Excuse me, miss," a sharp voice called. I turned to see a woman in a blazing red dress, diamonds dripping from her neck. Catherine. I recognized her instantly from society magazines. Always photographed, always perfectly styled, always with an expression that said the world owed her something. "This champagne is too warm," she complained, wrinkling her nose. "Can't you people get anything right?" I bit my tongue, offered an apologetic smile, and promised to fetch her a fresh glass. She rolled her eyes and dismissed me with a flick of her hand. And just like that, the experiment had begun. But Catherine was only the warm-up act. The real test arrived a few moments later, in the form of Priscilla Hargrave, the self-proclaimed queen of the charity circuit. Priscilla was tall, imposing, her gold gown shimmering under the lights. She walked as though the marble floors bowed beneath her heels. I'd seen her name attached to countless high-end galas and charity boards. People whispered that she was ruthless, but seeing her in person was something else entirely. "You there," she snapped, pointing her manicured finger at me. "What's your name?" "Aaliyah," I replied, keeping my voice steady. "Well, Aaliyah, I hope you're better at serving than the rest of the staff. Do you see how slowly these appetizers are coming out? This is unacceptable. This is a high-class event, not a backyard barbecue." Her voice carried across the ballroom, and heads turned. My cheeks flushed, but I kept my composure. I nodded and promised to do better. For the next hour, she shadowed me like a hawk, nitpicking everything. The way I balanced my tray, the way I addressed guests, even the way I stood when I wasn't serving. Every small movement became her chance to assert her dominance, and the others followed her lead. If Priscilla dismissed the staff, the rest of the guests assumed it was acceptable. A man in a $1,000 suit sneered that his shrimp was cold, demanding fresh food as if he were a king in a palace. A group of women made jokes about the staff's intelligence, laughing loudly as I passed by with hors d'oeuvres. No one looked me in the eye. No one said thank you. The mask of refinement was slipping. Underneath the designer gowns and tuxedos, these people were showing me who they truly were. And yet I stayed silent, because this was exactly what I came for. The ballroom, once filled with laughter and shallow chatter, was now thick with tension. You could almost feel the walls closing in on the guilty faces. People who had been smugly sipping champagne only minutes ago now stood stiff, shifting uncomfortably as Logan's words echoed across the marble hall. For a long moment, no one dared to speak. Then, like clockwork, the excuses began. "Oh, Mrs. Morrison, I didn't mean it that way." One man stammered, his cheeks flushed crimson. "I was just joking about the cold shrimp. You understand, right?" Another woman chimed in. "We were under so much stress. Charity events are so demanding. Please, don't take it personally." I met their eyes one by one, and for once, they couldn't look through me. They couldn't pretend I was invisible. My silence was louder than their excuses. "Here's the truth," I said, steadying my voice so it would carry across the hushed crowd. "Tonight I saw how easily people forget their manners when they think no one is watching. Respect is not something you give only when it benefits you. It's not a performance for powerful people. It's who you are when you think nobody is keeping score." Gasps rippled through the crowd, but I continued. "When you looked at me tonight, you didn't see a woman, a human being. You saw a uniform, a servant, someone you thought you could mock or order around without consequence. But what you didn't realize is that how you treat the so-called lowest person in the room reveals who you truly are." Logan's arm tightened protectively around my waist as I spoke, but he didn't interrupt. He knew this was my moment. From the edge of the crowd, Catherine made one last attempt to salvage her dignity. "This isn't fair," she said, her voice trembling with a mix of arrogance and fear. "We didn't know who you were. If we had known." I cut her off gently but firmly. "Exactly. You didn't know. And that's the point. You treated me poorly because you thought I was powerless. You shouldn't need to know someone's wealth, education, or marital status to treat them with decency. Kindness should not require credentials." Her face crumbled, and the weight of her own words from earlier, the insults about being uneducated and poor, hung in the air like poison. Logan turned to the stunned guests. His voice, calm yet commanding, held authority that no one dared challenge. "Let me make this clear," he said. "Our home has always been a place of respect, kindness, and generosity. Those values are the foundation of the charities we support. If you cannot extend the same respect to the people who make nights like this possible, the servers, the cleaners, the cooks, then you do not belong here. The hush was absolute. Then, slowly, a few hands began to clap. It started hesitantly from the staff, real servers who had been watching everything unfold with wide eyes. Their applause was soft but genuine, a quiet thank you for finally being seen. Then others joined, guests who had not partaken in the cruelty, but had stayed silent out of fear or apathy. Soon the entire ballroom was filled with applause, some polite, some guilty, but all of it carrying the weight of realization. Priscilla, still pale, attempted to regain her composure. "Mr. Morrison, please, I was only trying to maintain standards. Surely you understand the pressure of coordinating an event of this scale." Logan looked at her coolly. "The only standard that matters in this house is respect, and you failed it." His words were final, a quiet dismissal that sealed her fate. That night, the charity gala continued, but not in the same way. The laughter was softer, less mocking. Conversations carried an undertone of reflection. Guests approached me, some to apologize, others to thank me for the lesson they hadn't realized they needed. And for the first time all evening, I felt like I was truly seen, not as a billionaire's wife, not as a hostess, but simply as a woman who had dared to hold up a mirror to society's ugliest habits. The repercussions came swiftly in the days that followed. Priscilla's once unshakable reputation crumbled as whispers of her treatment of me spread. Event after event quietly replaced her name with someone else's. Catherine's husband watched deals slip through his fingers as business partners distanced themselves, unwilling to align with arrogance disguised as wealth. But the most powerful outcome wasn't the downfall of two women. It was the ripple effect of awareness. Letters began arriving at the mansion. Emails, handwritten notes, even flowers from strangers who had read about the incident in the press. People shared their own stories of being belittled. The waitress ignored, the janitor mocked, the intern dismissed. And woven through those stories was gratitude. Gratitude that someone with influence had chosen to experience, if only for one night, what so many endure daily. One letter in particular stayed with me. It was from a young woman who worked as a hotel maid. She wrote, "Thank you for showing the world that we are people too. Maybe the next time a guest looks at me, they'll see more than just a uniform." Her words brought tears to my eyes, because that had been my hope all along. The morning after the gala, Logan and I sat in the quiet kitchen, where it had all begun. The sun streamed through the windows, glinting off the marble counters. There were no guests, no applause, just us. 2 cups of coffee and the weight of everything that had unfolded. "Do you regret it?" Logan asked again, searching my face. I shook my head. "No. I regret that it was necessary, but not that I did it. If even one person left last night determined to treat others better, then it was worth every second." He smiled, his eyes full of pride. "You showed courage most people wouldn't have. You could have stopped it at any moment, but you let it play out, not for yourself, but for the lesson." I leaned into his touch, grateful not just for his love, but for his unwavering support. "That's the thing about privilege," I whispered. "It gives us choices. And sometimes the most powerful choice is to stand in someone else's shoes." I looked out the window at the gardens where the staff were already setting up for next event, a smaller fundraiser, one we both hoped would carry the spirit of what had been learned. "Appearances can be deceiving," I said softly, "but kindness never lies." And in that moment, I knew the lesson of the night would linger far beyond our mansion walls. Because stories like these don't just belong to one person. They belong to everyone who has ever been underestimated, overlooked, or dismissed. And perhaps, just perhaps, they remind us all to look closer, to choose compassion over judgment, and to treat every soul with the dignity they deserve.